Dumb Decks.
Hey, what's up nerds? Hardleg Joe here, welcoming you once again to Dumb Decks, the show where I look at Yu-Gi-Oh! Builds that are interesting, but not necessarily good. This time we're looking at something I'm calling Cyberdark Troll, a fairly pure Cyberdark deck designed specifically to frustrate meta players and possibly steal games. Now this was actually a paid request by a long-time high-tier patron by the name of Nightfang, who originally wanted me to do a what a deck with Cyberdarks. But despite my best efforts, I just could not make them work well enough in the modern format to function on that show. In fact, saying this deck works at all might be a bit of a stretch, because despite testing this for nearly 3 weeks now, I've only managed to record about 5 winning replays. Cyberdarks are infamously underpowered, and though the engine is small enough to be mixed with other decks, they don't really have any synergy with anything else. Like, you could make Cyberdark rockets, for example, but that would mostly just be a less consistent rocket deck. The two archetypes don't complement each other, they just get in each other's way. Like, there's no combo lines that open up with Cyberdarks or rockets by having the other one there. Those decks are just both trying to do what they normally do, but less consistently. It's the same way with Cyberdark Mech Knights or Cyberdark Shaddolls. They're all options, but mostly you're just playing the other archetype, except that you brick more often, and occasionally you normal summon a Cyberdark. So rather than do one of those, I just took pure Cyberdarks and tried to make the best, most trolly version I could. We still have some outside support, but it's all in service of the main Cyberdark playstyle. It's not great, it probably won't win outside of some very specific circumstances, but if you want to play Cyberdarks, this is the best way I could find to do it. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the archetype entirely, here's the basic rundown. There are 3 main Cyberdark monsters, which are all essentially the same. They're machines with 800 attack, and if you normal summon them, you can target a level 3 or lower dragon monster in the graveyard, equip it to them, and they gain that monster's attack. The archetype has 2 dragon-type monsters to choose from, both with 1600 attack, which will make your Cyberdarks into 2400 beatsticks, pretty nice. You can discard these dragons to search a Cyberdark monster and a Cyberdark spell trap respectively, which makes for super easy combos. And when they're equipped, they gain additional effects that trigger when the equipped monster attacks. Cannon lets you send a monster from your deck to the graveyard, and the Claw lets you send a monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. These effects are the most fun mechanics that the archetype has to offer, since they can trigger a wide range of effects and give you access to a rather unique toolbox. However, I'm going to be going over them later because it's not actually our main win condition in this version of the deck. What I mainly try to do is equip a Cyberdark with Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. This is a level 1 dragon, and when it's equipped to a monster you control, your opponent can't summon out of the extra deck, which for many archetypes is just a death sentence. Of course, it only has 400 attack, meaning when equipped to a Cyberdark, it'll be at a dangerously low 1200 total, but that's why we play Moon Mirror Shield, as well as Armory Call, a trap that lets you equip Moon Mirror Shield from the deck. Equipping this effectively makes your Cyberdarks impossible to destroy via battle, which means your opponent will most likely need targeted removal to get rid of them, and that's where the field spell comes into play. Among other things, Cyberdark Inferno says that Cyberdark effect monsters equipped with equip cards can't be destroyed or targeted by your opponent's card effects. Back all this up with Solemn Judgment to stop anything that might remove your monster without targeting it, and you have a fairly solid lockdown that even some meta decks won't be able to beat. Of course, this only works going first, and even then it's a sizable 4-card combo, 5 if you count the Solemn Judgment, which means even with all our searching and draw power, you only get the full thing about once in a blue moon. In fact, I don't have a replay to show you of the full win condition, because in all my weeks of testing, I was only able to get it a couple times, and those duels just happened to be against Dinosaurs, or Ritual, or some other deck that just gave 0 fucks about me locking them out of the extra deck. And that's the thing about floodgates in general. Sometimes they win you the game instantly, sometimes your opponent just laughs because it fails to impact their deck at all. That's why there can only be one, Summon Limit and Quiet Life are all in the side deck. Against some archetypes, these can just win the game on their own. Cyberdarks can easily play under all three because the archetype doesn't really special summon at all and they rarely control more than one monster. But then again, neither does Eldritch, and they have access to a lot more removal. Still, if you know you're playing against something that these shut down, there's no reason not to put them in and bring your opponent down to your level. But I digress. This is your win condition. Against most decks, you're gonna sit on this thing, stop your opponent from playing, and if that fails, then you have the rest of the deck. Like I said before, these two things, claiming to be dragons, have effects when they're equipped. The long, spiny one can Foolish Burial Monster when you attack. Pretty much the only proactive thing you can do with this is use Shaddoll Dragon to pop a spell trap. You can use other Shaddolls, of course. Beast lets you draw a card, the Little Mermaid lets you banish 3 from your opponent's graveyard, but these are both useless in hand. Dragon is really the only normal summonable Shaddoll that has both a flip effect and a graveyard effect that's useful outside of a dedicated Shaddoll deck. Anyway though, the rest of your options with Cannon, a little bit more passive. You can establish protection with Electromagnetic Turtle or Pero Cerberus, or you can set up your graveyard by sending a Buster or some of the other Cyberdarks. Send Claw and you'll have access to Claw's effects, which are generally better. The classic play is to send Elder Entity Natis, which unlike Dragon can pop any card in the battle phase, not just spell traps. There's also the newcomer, Wind Pegasus Ignister, which can banish itself from the graveyard when one of your cards is destroyed to shuffle a card your opponent controls back into the deck. It's a little bit more defensive, but it can be useful if your opponent has an indestructible card or something that'll float on destruction. And if you really need to, you can even be proactive with it by crashing a Cyberdark into a monster that's bigger with it. The equip card will be destroyed, which will trigger Pegasus, and then if you have the field spell out, you can just return that Cyberdark to the hand, normal summon it again, and re-equip the equip card. If somehow you've used all your Entis effects, and you still haven't won or been defeated, Psyframe Lord Omega can shuffle itself and any other card from the graveyard back into the deck, allowing you one more pop. I mean, technically this is infinitely renewable, but it takes 2 turns to set up, so you gotta be going against a pretty slow deck to get that off. Finally, there's just Predaplant Chimera Rafflesia, which, when sent to the graveyard, will search you Overload Fusion in the next standby phase. If you don't know, Cyberdarks do have fusion monsters, 2 of them actually. One mediocre one that takes 1 each of the 3 machine Cyberdarks, and one much better monster that takes any 5 Cyberdarks. Overload Fusion, as well as their archetypal fusion, Cyberdark Impact, allow you to fuse using monsters in your graveyard, which is why using Cannon to send them to your graveyard isn't necessarily a waste of your time. Also, like the Cyberdarks, both of these can equip dragons from the graveyard when summoned, and gain those dragons' attacks. This time, however, there's no level restriction, which is why we play something like Quasar. If you can send this to the grave with Claw, then not only will your fusion gain 4 stacks, but when it leaves the field, even as an equip card, you can summon Shooting Star Dragon from your extra deck for free! These remaining 4 cards in the extra deck are just things you might actually summon in rare instances. They can be replaced with whatever you want. You can put in more Pegasuses. Some people like 5-headed Dragon because it gives a monster 5,000 attack. I think that's like the highest you can get one of these. But honestly, if you can't beat over it with 6,000, I don't think that extra 1,000 is going to help you. While we're talking about the extra deck though, it's worth mentioning Union Carrier. This thing has the ability to equip any monster from the deck to any monster on the field, so long as they share a type or attribute, and the equipped monster gains an additional 1,000 attack, in addition to whatever equipped things it might do. I couldn't find a consistent way to summon this and a Cyberdark in one turn, but if you could, then you could use it to equip Dragon Buster or some of its lesser-known Floodgate kin to your Cyberdarks, get your combo off much easier. Maybe use Darkworm? That's what I was trying to do. We already played Dragon Shrine, so you could send these 2 in this thing, so might work? I don't know. Anyway, all that really leaves is our final main deck tech, which is Desperado Barrel Dragon. You can summon this thing if a dark machine you control is destroyed, and all the Cyberdarks that you want to summon are dark machines, so felt like a good fit. It's entirely optional if you want to go harder, maybe play Ash Blossom or Infinite Impermanence, maybe put in one of these floodgates from the side deck, but I figured we were already playing a goofy deck that barely worked, so we might as well go hard in the paint with maximum coin flips. So normally this is where I show a replay of the deck winning, and while I do have some of those, they aren't exactly impressive. The first one shows what could theoretically happen if you get a decent first turn opening against the right deck. I don't have full combo, but I do have 3/4 of it. I managed to get a Cyberdark monster equipped with Buster Dragon and Moon Mirror Shield, which in this case is enough because my opponent is playing some kind of Yusei-themed Junk/Synchron/Stardust deck. It is entirely set up to special summon Synchro monsters, and nothing else. The only monster removal he has is Synchros, as well as cards like Synchro Blast Wave, which require Synchros to be on the field. Since he can't summon Synchros, he has no way of dealing with my monsters. So he just sets for as long as he can while I slowly whittle down his life points until I finally finish him off with Gaga Ga Cowboy for game. I do have another replay to show you. This one I actually do stuff. It's not just sitting on a floodgate, but I have the feeling my opponent isn't exactly playing optimally. I don't know for sure, because I don't know that much about the new Machina cards yet, but, well, you can see for yourself. Like, yeah, I get a critical judgment that I'm pretty sure stops him from OTKing me, but he still wipes my board. Fortunately, I got Desperado, and he doesn't have a follow-up, so from there I can get in for a bit of damage. He seems to have bricked somewhat. He's got that Gizmek card that stops extra deck monsters, which is pretty much useless against me, as well as Machina Cannon, which I'm pretty sure is like a one-of at best. Meanwhile, I just keep drawing Cyberdarks, and since I have both the dragons in the graveyard, I can just keep doing what I was doing. Still, he manages to wipe my board again, but he just doesn't seem to have any way to capitalize on it, so I go ahead and search my fusion card since I have so many Cyberdarks in the grave. He draws another Gizmek card, and then foolishly attacks into my dude equipped with Claw, so I just pop him with Entis. From there, I already have game. I could just summon another Cyberdark and win, but I go ahead and activate Overload Fusion, just so I can have at least one replay where I summon Cyber Darkness Dragon. And yeah, that's pretty much the deck. Like I said, it's not great. Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is really about either locking down your opponent or blowing through said lockdowns to OTK them, and Cyberdarks aren't really good at either of those. It's definitely not an OTK deck, and its ability to control the field is rather limited, relying on a 4-card combo that uses outside support. For some people, though, you know, it's not about winning. It's about having fun. It's about playing a deck that you enjoy and just doing the best you can with it. And while for me, fun is all about big, complicated decks like Crystron's and DDD, I can see how others might enjoy the simplicity of this deck. There's something about normal summon set 4 pass that kind of harkens back to older Yu-Gi-Oh! If you're in that category, if that's what you like, if you enjoy playing 15-year-old cards that are both figuratively and literally edgy, here's the deck for you. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed hearing about this dumb little deck. Give the video a like if you want to see more dumb decks. Subscribe for more goofy Yu-Gi-Oh! Content in general. And if you have ideas for your own dumb decks, leave them down in the comments below. Until next time, good luck and have fun. I said, hey, what's going on?